page 14 to 17. Work won't love you back. How devotion to our jobs keeps us exploited, exhausted, and alone, by Sarah Jaffe, 2021. 0.2 Neoliberalism was born in Chile in 1973. Looming outside the carrier plant were Amazon and Target distribution centers, the likely future of work for some of the folks let go from their union jobs. The distribution center or warehouse job has become synonymous with misery these days. Stories abound of workers having to urinate into bottles because they're not allowed enough restroom breaks, being tracked around the facility via GPS, or popping Advil like candy to deal with the aches and pains. Yet even Amazon, in denying the reports of hellish conditions written up by journalist Emily Gandelsberger, touts its passionate employees, whose pride and commitment are what make the Amazon customer experience great. The global pandemic in 2020 just made the brutality of the workplace more visible. The amount of people employed in manufacturing worldwide has shrunk, but still the work is done, and more of it for pennies and without union protections. Women and children labor in deadly conditions in factories in places like Bangladesh, where the Rana Plaza garment factory collapse in 2013 killed 1,132 workers and injured more than 2,000 more. The day-to-day conditions of Bangladeshi garment workers or, say, the workers who assemble iPhones at the Foxconn plant in China range from tedious to backbreaking to deadly. Few seriously expect such workers to like their jobs, though they might face pressure to smile for the factory inspectors on the rare occasions they come around. Coal miners and factory workers have been described in many an article, laden with stereotypes, as Trump space, layering a thick sheen of romance over what was and remains miserable work. George Orwell famously described the coal mines of Wigan, outside Manchester, England, as like hell, or at any rate like my own mental picture of hell. GM workers at the Linden plant in New Jersey told sociologist Truth Milkman that the place was like prison at Lordstown. They called management the Little SS or the Gestapo. Chucky Dennison, recently retired from Lordstown, told me on the plant floor, there was basically a war on the workers. Those jobs, Milkman explained, had been good because they had been union jobs, not because workers' actual day-to-day experience was anything other than relentless and dehumanizing. That process of standardization and control was designed to reduce workers down to interchangeable cogs, so interchangeable that shutting down a factory in Indianapolis and opening it in Mexico or Bangladesh, where labor is cheaper, is easy. Or interchangeable enough to be replaced utterly by machines. But the process of outsourcing or automating these jobs out of expensive locations like the United States and Western Europe has shifted the nature of work in those rich countries and resulted, strangely enough, in employers seeking out those very human traits that industrial capitalism had tried so hard to strip away. Those human traits of creativity, people skills, caring are what employers seek to exploit in the jobs we're supposed to love. Exercising them is what is supposed to make work less miserable, but instead it has helped work to worm its way deeper into every facet of our lives. The political project that brought us here is known as neoliberalism, though it sometimes goes by other names, post-Fordism, maybe, or just late capitalism. As political philosopher Asad Haider explained, neoliberalism broken bar is really two quite specific things. First, a state-driven process of social, political, and economic restructuring that emerged in response to the crisis of post-war capitalism, and second, an ideology of generating market relations through social engineering. The success of the latter part of the project depended on twisting those desires for liberation articulated in the 1960s and 1970s, redefining freedom away from a positive concept, freedom to do things, and toward a negative one, freedom from interference. Neoliberalism encourages us to think that everything we want and need must be found with a price tag attached. Neoliberalism didn't just happen, it was a set of choices made by the winning side in a series of struggles. The victors remade the state to subject everything to competition, to enforce private property rights, and to protect the right of individuals to accumulate. Public services were sold off to private profiteers. Citizens became customers. Freedom was there, the neoliberals argued, you just had to purchase it. Neoliberalism was born in Chile in 1973, when Augusto Pinochet overthrew the democratic socialist Salvador Allende and, with the advice of American economists, reorganized the economy by force. That year also brought oil shocks and a global downturn, a collapse in asset values, and the beginnings of a crisis for capitalism. Unemployment and inflation were both rising, and social movements were demanding change. In that context, Pinochet cleared the way for a neoliberalism with brutality and torture, despite the claims of freedom. Page 17.